So it's funny to skip those on the inside because we just naturally, have learned we just go to the next one. So when we don't do it in that order, or when we don't do all of them, it's like there's kind of a hole in the middle, but it's a small group. So what's going on with everybody? Thanksgiving's over? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Yes, family went home.
Yeah, I had both of my 30-something kids staying with me in my real tiny, tiny little apartment, and it's like a big slumber party, it seemed like the whole time. So it's funny to have, their sleep. One's on the couch, one's on an air mattress, and I have the whole bedroom to myself. It feels luxurious for me. Back in the day, when they were little, they would have gotten the bed and I would have been on the air mattress, but not that way anymore. So it's good to be together, and then it's good to be apart again. So sometimes the holidays are difficult times because we are with our loved ones, or we want to be with our loved ones and we can't be. So if you have good times, then they end too soon, right? The holiday, if you're really excited and happy to see people, you can feel sad when they're gone. Or sometimes we kind of feel bad when we have a lot of our loved ones with us on the holidays because we may have issues, or the talk might have become too political, or whatever people don't like. We were talking about choices maybe last week, and someone said something about, that we could all be very equanimous about lots of things, but then someone said, but the dressing in the turkey has to have a certain ingredient. That some things, everything falls apart when there's that little last straw that we can't keep being equanimous. So how do you deal with it? Well, in a bigger sense, it's the holidays. But how those of you who have practiced for a long time, I'm curious about how holidays have changed, or if they've gotten better or worse, or where they are on your own cosmology of moods and holiday times. And what expectations do you have for the holidays that just don't get met? Uh-huh.
Well, I found out I was doing Thanksgiving like 2 days before. So normally, I think I'm like a rack, like a crazy. And I just trying to get equanimity, and I just did what I did. I didn't care, and it went so well.
That's great.
I never felt like that before. I didn't think about it until you just said that, but and now I'm ready for Christmas. Because I got all the stuff, and
How many people did you have to prepare for? With only had 8. So right at the last minute. That's great, though. You just did it. You just did what you could. You didn't have you didn't have expectations that everything had to be as perfect as you would have wanted it. Nice. Oh, that's wonderful. Not your sock? Not your... That's really... You have achieved a lot. And see, it's good you took the Bodhisattva precepts this year. You were ready for them. That's good. You could say, that sock is not who I am. That person whose sock that is not who I am. That's good. So who else had an experience with their holiday, or have you seen a difference? Uh-huh.
My
Yeah. Oh, nice. That's really nice. Because you were willing to do it. We sometimes get caught up in whatever the habits are for our family. And it takes you have to be very brave to say, let's do it a different way. That's a good way to look at where you are with your, just those conditioned ways we have of being that we don't, we like the dressing, the ingredients in the dressing. We begin to think it has to be this way or it's not going to be, the holiday isn't going to be the same. It's almost, we put some kind of magical belief into things like that. That's good. And once you've broken the tradition once, then it's not so bad again, or you may decide to do it real traditionally one year instead of, you realize it's not what you do, it's what your attitude is as you go into a holiday. I remember, what else? Somebody else has been practicing for a while. What do you see that's different?
I'd have to say the holiday probably didn't go as expected or desired for us. And it was a challenge all the way around, I think, with different personalities and there's certain traditions we have in the house that we kind of like to go through and things we try to keep. It's just we would like to have just consistency, and it kind of got modeled this year, and it led to some interesting moments. But there was no true chaos, but just an unsettled air, kind of through it. So, we all sort of powered through and, did what we did. There were no major blow-ups or anything like that. Not to say that this was, people were setting fire to the cat or anything like that, but it was just odd. And then I think when my wife and I kind of debriefed, everyone left and we sort of sat down and said, okay, that was not how we wanted it, right? It was kind of like, all right, well, what's the, why? What's, we knew the dynamic had changed, that, why did we react the way that we did? Why do we now feel the way we do? And, should we be feeling this way? And are we doing things wrong? Should things be different? And the kind of the post-holiday debrief was very interesting, because we did lose our way at times. And then you come back and you're like, I got spun up over that. Okay, I should know better.
Yeah, and you have a way to talk about it that's not like blaming or it's just like what do we like about it? What didn't we like? What do we need to do differently? Yeah,
and it seems to be this. Even though there may be the same people at a particular day, right? You'll get different attitudes and different states of mind from everyone.
Right.
So, you could have a group and everything's rosy and you're laughing and you're like, wow, we got to do this more often. And then you get this past weekend and you're like, goodbye.
Yeah. Gee, that was, They were not going to plan next year right now. Yeah.
So, I applaud the folks that had, an amazing, wonderful, pleasant, weekend. Not to say it wasn't great to see family, but I was happy to see them go too.
So, yeah. And that's all impermanence too, right? So somebody that you really enjoyed last year might have been like completely obnoxious this year because of what was going on with them, or maybe they've slid into dementia a little bit more, or, slid out of something else a little bit more.
Could have been the whiskey. I don't know. It's kids and that Wednesday night, it just kind of throw the Thursday off.
Yeah.
What was it called? It's Black Friday, and I learned a new term, Blackout Wednesday. So this is a new one.
Yeah.
I tried to keep up, but I was unaware of that one. So
it's not on any calendars
that you. This year, so.
Yeah, we have to. It's all about impermanence, right? And even with our kids, we can't predict anything, or our relatives, especially our relatives, because we probably think we can predict them, and then they're always the wild card. I had someone in my kind of my family in Wisconsin, and one person had quit drinking 3 months before, and that's never happened before. That was kind of like a jaw-dropping.
Very
Wow.
Wisconsin, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they're very quiet about it until I ask. But it was nobody else said, "Oh, in honor of his sobriety, we'll put ours down." It was, but then there are always surprises, no matter which way it goes. But yeah, that's very Wisconsin. So, are you prepared for the next holiday looming just around the corner? Sooner than it usually is. So what do I think holidays, it's very interesting too to see how the temple has, just the people who come here have the maturity of the group, because not too many years ago, there were the typical, okay, holidays are coming, how are you going to deal with the holiday stress? And lots of focus on, okay, that stressful time is coming. Maybe we need to have workshops. Maybe you need to have all kinds of special things to help people get through the holidays. And I've noticed that's not what it is in general for this community. That's not the thrust of the holiday period. It's like in general, people have really gotten through that. People are already a lot calmer, a lot more equanimous about the holidays. Like you said, it's never happened before that you would have been in that situation and just been so okay with everything the way it was. So I noticed that, like if we were talking about journal writing in the intro earlier, and if I had a journal, a diary, I would look back 10 years ago, and every like November, we'd start talking about all the stress people felt around the holidays. And I don't think in the last 5 years that's been the thrust of it. And I think that says something just about the maturity of the Sangha.
Well, we can still do a chanting and rapping party. Pretty close for the season. We could all, meet in the basement and just kind of do
just
some
chanting.
And chant it up a little bit. Yeah.
And you mean rapping, not rapping.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Rap with a W, yes.
Yeah, we could do that. I'm sure you could get a lot of people who'd like to hang out that way during the holidays. We're doing our chanting. We are doing that, but we're instead of rapping, on the 14th we have the chanting blessing, New Year's blessing ceremony. We get to bathe a baby. We don't have to wrap presents. We get to pour water over a baby Buddha. And this year we actually have a baby Buddha instead of our little grown-up Buddha. So, and that's kind of that makes everybody feel good. If you've been to that, and we didn't do that at the beginning. We kind of, that's a custom that some of our Vietnamese temples we go to for certain celebrations use. So we integrated that into our blessing ceremony. But people enjoy pouring that water over the Buddha. It's like letting all your everything about the previous year, just kind of letting it go, washing that baby, and everything is all cleaned up and you get ready to start a fresh, clean year. And that's a nice way to look at the end of the year a little early. So you can pour water over a baby Buddha and chant next Saturday night. Bring a bucket, yeah, really, really clean them out, getting ready for your Christmas celebration. So, what else is going on besides holidays for everybody?
Get more critical after the holidays. You get that high all the festivities and everybody's so happy, and then it's like nothing.
January and February.
And you get that cabin fever setting in, and oppression starts taking over and stuff. So that's what I'm worried about in the holidays.
Well, my plan for this winter is I can't do it until after mid-February, but I'm going to go to Florida. That's going to deal with some of that end of the winter. I'm going to help the monks down there. It's not for my selfish reasons at all. They need help. So, I know what you mean. That's an easy time for most people to just get we're already tired of the winter by about now, especially since we've had a good taste of it. And that's when depression sets in for people.
And if Christmas doesn't go the way you were expecting it, compound it.
Yeah. Does Christmas ever go the way we expect it to? As an adult, I have found that there are still things that, as much as it's not a big deal, I still have, there's always a little bit of dissatisfaction. But it's more because it's over. It's like, oh, that was fun, that was nice, and now it's over. There's nothing until, there's just the cleanup after Christmas. So today everybody was putting decorations up for Christmas, and, after Christmas it's just taking all that stuff down. I have one decoration. I'm not complaining about that. I hang a snowman on my door, and that's it.
When you mentioned about feeling safe during meditation, it's that made a chime go off inside me, and I just want to say that I realized I feel unsafe.
In the world.
It didn't happen, and I don't know who, where, why, but when you said that, I was able to focus on something that I hadn't seen before. Really. And to be honest, on Thanksgiving Day, I ran into a very old disabled man, and he was stepping to help him, and I saw his hat. He was a World War II veteran, and I hadn't stopped about him. So I think you mentioned safety, it kind of.
I've started putting that into loving kindness practice because someone told me that they thought a lot of people don't feel safe in the world right now. And I realize that's really true. Even in just the world doesn't feel safe. And that there is a lot of, there's a lot of that we all don't have. We don't have the same sense of just security in the direction of the world. And I think it's worldwide. I mean, it's not just in our country, it's all over the world. And I think that's something that I think we can feel that, but the only kind of safety we can really feel is that the safety of not knowing what's ahead of us. We're not going to find safety in the news or, what's going on with the economy or what's going on in terms of terrorism or, there's no safety in that. The safety has to all be very internal for us and just our own. It has to be from our own self-confidence that whatever is going on that we have the ability to roll with the punches. I mean, it's a whole different. We can't be thinking, our world is like essentially grounded and everything's gonna be all right. We have to feel that very internally, and that involves some letting go. Yeah, but so I think it's good to be mindful of that. Some things that we think should be just part of our birthright, especially being Americans, being in this country, some things that we think should just be there, they really aren't. So it all has to be coming from within us, and that's sometimes difficult. I realize that if I'm not really paying attention to NPR, and that's about it, but if I go for a weekend like the holiday, and I'm not checking the news at least once a day on NPR updates on my email feed, or listening to the news on NPR driving somewhere, there may be 3 different terrorist things that have gone on that I miss. And that this weekend was one of them. So this morning I was kind of catching up on the news feed, and I thought, wow, I didn't know about this one, didn't know about this one, knew about that one. So, it's a big world, and it seems like there's a lot of uncertainty and unrest a lot of places.
So it's not safe to turn on the television?
Yeah, and you know what? I gave up television, and I haven't regretted it at all, mostly because of the advertising and the news. So I have to make a conscious decision to read the news that I get. And when my daughter was watching Hulu at my house, at my apartment, because she had her contact info, and they have Hulu has commercials on all the programming. And that started a little bit on Amazon Prime, so I thought I was only watching stuff without commercials. But Hulu has commercials with everything. I said, what is this? You're paying for Hulu and you still have to watch commercials. Why would... That's how they're all going to be probably in a couple of months. So.
Well, you can pay more. No.
Of course, that's right. Yeah. There's some method to all this madness, right? And today I was listening not to the little ad on the radio about a program that was going to be about how America has become completely commercialized, like to the extreme. So everything we do is about being about business, about selling things, about buying things, and so consumption is all driven by that. We need it because we want it, and I hadn't listened to it because I wasn't in the car when that program came on, but I'd been thinking about it, like this whole country operates. I mean, it's kind of it's capitalism, right? Everything operates on that. And then I was walking by the fabric store on the square next to Expressly Leslie's, where we all know where that is. But they have, in the window, they have their big quilting machines. So there was one woman operating the 2 machines, and she would set it up. So I was standing with a friend, and the woman just looked like she was kind of measuring a few things and looking on her little computer screen. And she had one quilt that was being finished on one side of her, and then on the other side she was programming another computer to finish the quilt that was on the other side of her. And it was like, my friend was saying, wow, when my grandmother used to make quilts, she had a big table, and all of her friends would come over, and they'd all quilt together, and they'd help her finish her quilt. And then the next one would be going to somebody else's house to spend the day helping them finish the quilt. And she was talking about it, and we're watching this one woman turn on the sewing machines, get them programmed, and then she left to go to 2 other machines somewhere. And they're huge, big machines. And I thought, that's a perfect example of the commercialization of everything. So now a handmade quilt isn't handmade, and there's only one person doing most of the work on it, one machine operated by just one part of a person. And I thought, that's kind of how everything is now. And that's just the world we live in. It's hard to adjust to that. Like, I still thought people made quilts by hand, and I know that's like an antique idea. But I have a friend who makes, she doesn't make quilts, but she makes art out of fabrics. And she's even moved to doing part of that with a machine. But it used to be the joy of a lot of things was either doing it by hand or doing it like quilt making would be. You'd do it with other people. It was more of a project to get together and be with other people. So that just shows how old I am. I think that's all that is. But now, if you want to quilt with one of those machines, you've got to pay a lot of money to either take your quilt to have that done or buy it. I don't know if you could afford, most people couldn't afford to buy it and put it at their home. So, it's just the way the world is. So, enjoy the next holidays coming up and you'd be thinking of ways to deal with the post-holiday. One way would be to have a really bad Christmas, and then you'd be feeling, invite the wrong people for Christmas, hang out with people and then you'll feel so good that it's over. You might coast through January. And then February, it'll be like, just one more bad month. I can put up with February. So, thank you, everybody.